This story consists of my recollections of a very unusual young man with whom I was thrown into contact at long intervals. In the summer of 1919, while passing through Chicago on my way to the Far East, a friend of mine, Elliot Templeton, whom I had known in London and Paris, invited me to dine with him and his sister, Mrs. Bradley. They were giving a dinner party at one of those sprawling country clubs which was so much a part of the American scene in the early days of the post-war boom.
Good evening, Mr. Templeton's table.
Yes, sir.
Are they here?
They're having refreshments, sir.
Here you are.
With a dry martini, sir.
Prohibition of all the bloody nonsense.
Elliot.
Yes, dear?
Who is this man that you asked to dinner tonight? I had to get Sophie at the last minute or we would have been 13.
He's an English author. He's quite all right. In fact, he's really quite famous. So pretend that you've heard of him, even if you haven't.
That's too much. Get the other glasses. Elliot, you must be slipping if you frequent authors.
Not at all, my dear. Authors go everywhere nowadays. Why, in London, I even met actors and actresses in society. Ah, here he is now. My dear fella, how very nice to see you.
Hello, Elliot.
Let me present you to my sister, Mrs. Bradley. Louisa. Louisa, dear. This is Mr. Somerset Maugham.
How do you do, Mr. Maugham? It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
What on earth are you doing in this benighted city?
I'm just passing through. But you, Elliot, I thought you never left Paris.
Why should I? In point of fact, I came to see my sister, my niece, Isabel. I haven't been back since before the war. I hope you don't mind. A few young things are joining us for dinner, but we can leave early.
Why should I mind? I like young things if they're good to look at.
Incidentally, you'll meet the young man my niece has got herself engaged to.
His name is Larry Darrell, and I might as well tell you at once that Elliot doesn't approve of him.
I have nothing against him, but he hasn't any money. And my sister's not a rich woman by any means. She needs all she's got. I said only
Elliot,
this morning...
is it necessary for you to tell Mr. Maugham all our private affairs?
We can't all be millionaires, Elliot.
He hasn't even got a job.
He can get one, can't he?
He doesn't want a job.
Why not?
Because he's bone idle.
That would shock a man like you who's never earned a penny in his life.
It may have escaped your notice, my dear fella, but I am not an ordinary man. Cocktail.
Oh, yes.
For the run of mankind, industry is essential, and I see no reason why this young man, whom my niece has got herself engaged to, should not conform to the customs of his country. Ah, here's my niece now.
Oh, Mother.
Hello, Isabel.
Hello.
Mr. Maugham, this is my daughter, Isabel.
How do you do, Mr. Maugham? Where's Larry?
Late.
Oh, poor sweet. I suppose he forgot to wind his watch last night, as usual. You wouldn't know about Larry. Say, Mother, you know you've mixed up the cards.
Oh, Sophie, dear.
Hello, sir.
This is Sophie Nelson, Mr. Somerset Maugham. Sophie's a neighbor of ours in the country.
How do you do?
You look charming, Sophie.
Yes, doesn't she? Excuse us? Come here. I want to have a look. Sophie, you look lovely. It's the dress. You sure you don't mind my wearing it? Of course not. If you'd like it, take it as a present. Oh, Isabel, that's awfully sweet of you. Oh, it'd be such a surprise for Bob to see me decently dressed for once. Oh, you know Bob's much too much in love with you to notice what you wear. He's no more crazy about me than I am about him. I don't think anyone ever loved anyone as I love him. Isn't it heavenly to be alive?
Hi.
Hello, Gray. Hello, Gray.
May I break this up?
Sure.
Hello. You look lovely.
Think so?
Hello, Sophie.
Hello.
May I get you one, Miss Nelson, isn't it?
Yes, Sophie Nelson. I'd love it. Only, no, I guess I'd better not.
Why, what's wrong with cocktails?
Oh, nothing. Only I promised Bob I wouldn't.
Who's Bob?
My boyfriend. He doesn't like me to drink. He thinks I'm too fond of him.
Which is Bob.
Oh, he isn't here. He's working. He's putting himself through law school. But he's going to drop in later and take me home.
Will you have one of these? If my man Joseph could see me now, I give you my word, he'd faint dead away.
You're a great friend of Mr. Templeton's, aren't you?
Well, I wouldn't say that. Edith has no friends, only acquaintances.
He's an awful snob, isn't he?
Oh. But he's kind and generous. People laugh at him behind his back, but they eat his food and drink his wine.
Oh, Mr. Mom. Mr. Mom, you're next to Mother. Sophie, you're next to Gray at the end of the paper.
That's us, Toots.
Mr. Mom, Mr. Mather.
Hello. Isabel.
Yes?
Dinner, my dear fellow.
Oh, yeah. And who's Mr. Maturin?
Oh, Gray. He's our millionaire. His father's a big broker, and we're proud of him. He gives us class. But he's nice. I know several girls he's taught, but nothing short of murder to get him. They haven't a chance.
Why not?
He's so much in love with Isabel, he can't see straight.
I see. And she's in love with Larry Darrow. I suppose that does complicate matters.
It does if you're as high-principled as Gray is.
And Larry isn't here.
Oh, yes, he's just coming in now, way over there. Look. Come on, dinner.
This is the young man of whom I write. He is not famous. It may be that when his life at last comes to an end, he will leave no more trace of his sojourn on this earth than a stone thrown into a river leaves on the surface of the water. Yet it may be that the way of life he has chosen for himself may have an ever-growing influence over his fellow men, so that, long after his death perhaps, it may be realized that there lived in this age a very remarkable creature.
You're very late, Larry.
I'm sorry.
Sophie, where's Mr. Moore?
Oh, here you are.
Evidently, Larry hasn't learned that punctuality is the politeness of kings.
Elliot. Mr. Mom, this is Larry Darrow.
Louisa, when can we start dinner?
Mr. Mom's a novelist, darling.
Oh?
I may as well tell you that Larry's very stupid and uneducated. He knows nothing about anything except flying. But when he came back, he looked so lovely in his uniform. I camped on his doorstep until he consented to marry me. The competition was awful.
Don't believe a word she says, Mr. Mom. Isabel's not a bad girl, really, but she's a terrible liar.
Dinner.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
I've seen you before.
Oh, when?
I happened to have a job of work to do, and I went into the library. I saw you when I went in there early this morning, and when I came back from lunch, you were still there.
To tell you the truth, I forgot about lunch.
I couldn't help admiring your power of concentration.
Well, it was that kind of a book.
My dear fellow, you're at the end of the table with my sister.
Hello,
Thank
Gray.
you, Gray.
Hi there. Say, Dad tells me you turned down that job in the office.
Oh, Larry, why have you done that?
I thought it over, and, well, I figured I'd be a disappointment to Gray's father, so I decided I'd better refuse.
Sorry, old man. It would have been swell us working together.
Brown eyes. Looks as if Tall, Dark, and Legal is standing you up tonight.
Oh, I'd like to catch him trying it.
Your old friends?
We grew up together. I used to play shortstop on his baseball team. We used to think we could lick any 10 kids our size.
And could you?
We tried. Oh, here comes my young man now.
Oh, here you are.
Hello. This is Mr. Mom, Bob McDonald.
How do you do, sir?
All right.
He's the one who seems to think he wants to marry me.
I can't see why, but there it is. I just happen to be crazy about the girl.
I wouldn't like him to know, but just between you and me, I rather like him myself.
Let's dance.
Isabel. Hello. Laura, why didn't you tell me that Mr. Maturin had offered you a job? What? Laura, why didn't you tell me that Mr. Maturin had offered you a job? Answer me. Answer me.
Well, I thought I'd better not till I made up my mind one way or another. You mad?
Darling, that's the horrible part about you. However aggravating you are, one can't really be angry with you.
Oh, can't they? Did you see those looks Uncle Elliot was giving me at dinner?
Well, after all, Larry, a man must work. And the longer you put it off, the harder it'll be.
I've got a foolish notion I want to do more with my life than just sell bonds.
All right, then. Go into a law office.
No, I don't want to do that either.
What do you want to do, then?
I don't know. Loaf, maybe.
Oh, Larry, don't be funny. This is serious.
I'm not being funny. I think it's very serious. I wouldn't make you miserable for anything.
But you are making me miserable. You see, I love you.
Oh, and I love you, Isabel.
Look, Larry, let's be sensible. A man must work. It's a matter of self-respect. This is a young country, and it's a man's duty to take part in its activities. Why, Gray's father was saying only the other day that we're beginning an era that will make the past look like 30 cents. He said that he can see no limit to our progress, and that by 1930, we'll be the greatest and richest country in the whole world. Don't you think that's terribly exciting?
Terribly.
Why, there never was such a chance for a young man. I'd have thought you'd be proud to be a part of it. It's such a wonderful adventure.
I'm sure you're right, Isabel. The Armors and the Swifts will pack more and better meat. McCormick's will turn out more and better harvesters, and Henry Ford will make more and better cars, and everybody will get richer and richer.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing. Nothing at all. It just happens that sitting in an office and making a lot of money doesn't interest me as much as it should.
Oh, Larry, don't talk like a fool. You can't live without money.
But I have a little. That's what gives me the chance to do what I want.
You're making it very difficult for me, Larry.
I'm sorry, darling. I wouldn't if I could help it.
You can help it. Yes?
The dead look so terribly dead when they're dead.
What does that mean exactly?
Just that.
Are you terribly unhappy, darling?
No, the only thing that makes me unhappy is making you unhappy. I don't think I'll ever find peace until I make up my mind about things. It's so difficult to put into words. The minute you try, you feel embarrassed. You say to yourself, who am I to bother my head about this, that, or the other? Wouldn't it be better just to follow the beaten path and let what's coming to you come? And then I think of a guy I knew. A minute before, he was full of life and fun, and then he was dead. I've seen many men die, but this one was different. It was the last day of the war, almost the last moment. He could have saved himself, but he didn't. He saved me and died. So he's gone, and I'm here alive. Why? It's all so meaningless. You can't help but ask yourself what life is all about. Whether there's any sense to it or whether it's just a stupid blunder.
I hardly know what to say. It's so unexpected. Larry, do you think it would help if you went away for a while?
I think perhaps it would.
Then why don't you go?
Because of you.
Larry, let's be frank with each other. There's no place in your life for me just now.
Does that mean you don't want to be engaged to me anymore?
Oh, no, foolish. It means that I'm prepared to wait.
Might be a year, or even longer.
That doesn't matter. Might be less. Where have you thought of going? Where?
Well, I thought I'd start by going to Paris. I went there several times on leave. I don't know why, but I've got it into my head that there, everything that's muddled in my mind would grow clear. It's a funny place. It gives you the feeling that you can think out your thoughts to the very end. I think over there I may be able to see my way before me.
And if you don't?
I'll give it up as a bad job. Come back to Chicago and take the first work I can get. My darling.
Oh, Larry. I love you. I love you so much.
I cannot for the life of me understand how Isabel could possibly prefer that young man to a fine chap like Gray. Oh, I grant you he's good looking and his clothes fit. But imagine an opportunity to go in with Gray and his father on the ground floor. Isabel. Home so early?
Yes.
What's the matter?
Nothing.
Where's Larry?
Gone. Hello, Mother.
Did you have a talk with him?
Yes.
May I venture to inquire the result?
He's going to Europe for a while. I promised to wait for him.
What in the world is he going to do in Europe?
Loaf?
Loaf? Don't be ridiculous, Isabel.
That's what he told me.
Really, I have no patience with you. If you had any spirit, you'd have broken off your engagement then and there.
What can I do? I love him.
Come along.
It's all right.
Well, things might be a great deal worse. Oh, thank heavens. Merci, Joseph. I was just saying, Louisa, things might be a great deal worse. Oh.
Don't get up. I don't see how.
My poor Louisa, you have no imagination. When you're young, your emotions are violent, but they're not durable. It's a delusion that absence makes the heart grow fonder. With Larry out of the way and Gray on the spot, I don't see why Isabel shouldn't marry him before the year's out.
You've been away from America too long, Elliot. You've forgotten that in this country, a girl doesn't marry a man because her mother or even her uncle wants her to.
That's nothing to be proud of, Louisa. As a result of 30 years' experience, I may tell you that a marriage arranged with the proper regard for position and fortune has every advantage over a love match. In France, which, after all, is the only civilized country in the world, Isabel would marry Gray without thinking about it twice. Then, after a few months, if she was still in love with Larry...
That will do, Elliot. I know what you're going to say, and the idea doesn't appeal to me.
That's one of the things I've never understood about you, Louisa. Though you've lived half your life in diplomatic society and half the capitals of the world, you've remained hopelessly American.
It isn't often that you pay me a compliment, dear.
It wasn't meant to be one.
I know. Well, I think I'll go to bed. Elliot, will you lock up?
Yes, dear.
Good night, Mr. Moore.
Good night. You're very full of worldly wisdom this evening, Elliot.
Have you ever known me not to be? I don't mind telling you I have a sneaking sympathy for the boy. He's young and he wants to sow his wild oats before he settles down to married life. Very natural and very proper. I'll keep my eye on him in Paris. Of course, he must cross on the Aquitania. I know the captain, and he'll see that Larry sits at his table and meets the right people. I'll look for an apartment for him in a really smart quarter. I'll do him proud. I'll give some parties for him. So many Americans, when they go to Paris, get in with the wrong people. And then they find it no end of a job to shake them off. I'll have my chauffeur, Marcel, drive him about in the roads. I detest the countryside. But alas, all Americans are born tourists, and no doubt he'll want to see the sights. It would be perfect if I could arrange for some older woman to take him under her wing. Princess Novemele, for instance. He is young and he has a good figure. I think she'd fall for him like a ton of bricks. In any event, the busier I keep him, the less time he'll have to think about Isabel.
Oui, mademoiselle.
Anything for Lawrence Darrell?
This wireless came day before yesterday.
Mr. Humphrey Charles Benedict. I was here about a year ago.
Oh, excuse me. Pardon me. When does the boat train from the Aquitania arrive?
11:30.
Thank you.
Vous parlez anglais?
Why, of course, madame.
Larry! Larry! Oh, Larry, I've missed you. I've missed you so much.
May I ask how he knew you were coming?
Isabel cabled him from the ship.
Are they still engaged?
As far as I know.
What about Grey Matron?
Still faithful.
I don't believe you played your cards very well, Louisa.
I never had much card sense, Elliot.
Mother, here he is.
Oh, how good of you to come, Larry.
So nice to see you, Mrs. Bradley. Hello, Mr. Templeton.
How do you do?
Uncle Elliot, may Larry come along to dinner with us?
Larry's given me to understand he doesn't dine out.
Oh, he will tonight, won't you?
I will.
That's very good of you, I'm sure. I should be delighted.
We'll meet you at the house. Taxi? Taxi! Come along, darling. I've got a million things to tell you.
I'm afraid I haven't a very good account to give you of that young man, Louisa.
Oh?
When he first came over to Paris, for Isabel's sake, I asked him to lunch, to meet the sort of people he ought to know. And he told me he didn't eat lunch.
Perhaps he doesn't.
And then when I asked him to dinner, he said he couldn't come because he had no evening clothes. If I live to be 100, I shall never understand how any young man could come to Paris without evening clothes.
Maybe he just didn't want to.
That's the most incredible reason for refusing an invitation I've ever heard in my life. And where does he live?
I haven't a notion. Isabel writes to him in care of the American Express.
Like a traveling salesman or a school teacher on vacation. My own belief is that he's living in the Latin Quarter with some bit who's no better than she ought to be.
I'm afraid you'd have to write him off as one of your failures, Elliot.
It might surprise you to know it, my dear, but I've already done so.
Ah, il est beau, mon panier, hein?
Mais oui, ma petite, tu vas en vendre beaucoup, tu vas avoir du
Oui,
bonheur.
je vais avoir du bonheur, hein?
Mademoiselle, mademoiselle, un brin de muguet, je vous en prie.
Bonjour, madame.
Bonjour, mademoiselle, c'est le 1er mai aujourd'hui, c'est une coutume française d'avoir du muguet, ça porte bonheur et de l'amour.
She speaks so quickly, I can't understand her.
She's telling you that it's an old French custom. Everyone has to wear a sprig of lilies of the valley on May Day. They're a symbol of happiness.
Merci,
Voilà.
madame.
Merci.
Ça me portera bonheur.
May Day. Imagine it's being May. That means I've been here nearly a month now.
Oh, impossible. It was only yesterday.
I still don't know a thing about what you've been doing. Tell me, Larry. You must know I've been dying to know.
Oh, nothing really very exciting. I've traveled around, read a lot, gone to lectures at the Sorbonne and so forth.
Have you found that peace of mind you were looking for?
No, but for the first time, I'm beginning to see things in a clear light.
What does that mean?
It's rather difficult to explain, and even if I try, you'll only be angry with me.
How much longer do you think all this is going to take you?
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say.
And after that, what are you going to do with all this wisdom?
If I ever acquire wisdom, I suppose I'll be wise enough to know what to do with it.
You know what Uncle Elliot says.
Nothing to my credit, I imagine.
He says you have a cozy little hideout somewhere.
Come and see for yourself. Cozy little hideout's only a step from here.
Bonjour, Monsieur Tyrone.
Oh, bonjour, Etienne.
Monsieur Darrell.
Madame Duval, Mademoiselle Bradley.
Bonjour.
Monsieur Jacques Duval.
Enchanté, mademoiselle.
Did you see the looks they gave me?
Ruin my character, that's what you've done.
Ça va? This is where you live?
You don't like it?
No.
Oh, it's all right. It's convenient. How about a cup of coffee?
Larry, how can you bear to sit here in a backwash when America's living through the most glorious adventure the world has ever known? You've been away a year now, a whole year out of your life. You just can't go on loafing forever. Or can you?
It's possible.
And what about me? Am I of no importance to you at all?
Well, you're of great importance to me, Isabel. I love you and I want you to marry me.
When, in 10 years?
No, now, as soon as possible.
On what?
I've got $3,000 a year.
Oh, Larry.
Well, lots of people live on a great deal less.
But I don't want to live on $3,000 a year. I never have, and I don't see why I should.
We could go down to Capri for our honeymoon. And then in the fall, we could go to Greece. Remember how we used to talk about traveling all over the world together?
Of course I want to travel. But not like that. Cheap restaurants, third-rate hotels. Besides, I want to have babies, Larry.
All right, darling, we'll take them along with us.
Oh, Larry, you're so impractical. You don't know what you're asking me to do. I'm young. I want to have fun. Do all the things people do. We wouldn't have a friend in the world.
Oh, Isabel, stop exaggerating. We'll do everything that you want to do, and we'll do it together.
Oh, listen, darling. If you hadn't a cent to your name and got a job that brought you $3,000 a year, I'd marry you without a minute's hesitation. I'd cook for you. I'd make beds. I wouldn't care what I wore. I'd think it was fun because I'd know it was only a question of time until you'd make good. But this means living like this all our lives with nothing to look forward to. It's asking too much. Oh, Larry, you've had your fling now. For your own sake, I beg of you to come home with us.
But I wouldn't make you happy if I did. You see, what you forget is that I want to learn as passionately as... Well, as Gray, for example, wants to make a lot of money. I came over here because I was restless and because my mind was muddled. I came looking for the answers to a lot of questions. Some of them I found. Others I may never find. But I can't stop now. Oh, I know it sounds vague and trivial compared with... Well, compared with everything that's happening at home today. And I know I'm being very difficult. But I can't stop now, Isabel. I just can't.
But what would happen to America if everyone did as you're doing?
But the answer to that is that everyone doesn't feel as I do. Fortunately for themselves, most people are just content to follow the normal course and take things as they are. Oh, I wish I could, too. But I know if I tried, I'd just make a mess of your life and of mine, too.
But what's this all going to lead to?
I don't know. It may be that when I'm through, I will have found something to give that people will be glad to take. It's just a chance. But even if I fail, I shan't be any worse off than a fellow who's gone into business and hasn't made a go of it.
Then there's nothing more to be said. Here you are.
Isabel. Wear this on another finger, please. We're still friends.
Of course. Shall we go?
Well, go Go on, go on. I don't believe it. Louisa, dear, do you realize that in the 2 months you've been here, I haven't won a game?
Who's winning?
I am.
Good.
Well, I must say Isabel's taking it very well. Has she told you exactly what happened?
Only that she and Larry talked it over and came to the conclusion they'd made a mistake.
Has she written to Gray?
I wouldn't know. I'm not in the habit of opening her mail.
If you ask me, she's very well out of it. Of course, there's no doubt there was a strong physical attraction, but that's all.
Good night, Mother.
Good night, darling. Don't be too late. Remember, we have to catch the boat train in the morning.
Well, you're very dressed up. You seem to be going somewhere.
Yes.
Where?
Oh, nowhere in particular. Larry and I are going out on the town.
Larry?
We thought we'd like to spend our last night together.
Evening, I trust you mean. I'm profoundly shocked. If he had any sense of decency, he'd never have asked you.
But he didn't ask me. I asked him.
You should forbid her to go, Louisa.
Will you pay any attention to me if I do, Isabel?
No, darling, none.
In that case, I don't think there's any point in my forbidding it.
Pretty dress she had on. I hadn't realized it was cut quite so low.
So beautiful.
Темно, звезд не седо, нет, не забыть мне ночи той никогда. И в эту ночь счастье нашли, а на заре моя любовь расстались мы. Ах, песню поет Сильвия, как греться за тобой. Над горами, и что сокол удалой. Тебе
guess this is goodbye.
Will you come in and have one last drink?
Yes.
Late, you better go. Oh, Larry, for heaven's sakes, go. Please, Uncle Elliot.
That was a brilliant performance, my dear. I left the door just a little open. Shall I get you a drink? I expect you want it.
You think you're very clever, don't you?
I don't think it, I know it. Come, child, be reasonable. I guessed you were up to something. Even your poor mother noticed the pains you went to make yourself alluring tonight.
You're hateful.
But no fool, my angel. Am I right in surmising that you thought if you could get him to come back here, it was almost inevitable that the inevitable should happen?
No one could put it more delicately.
We know what the consequences may be when a poor girl strays from the narrow path of virtue.
Do we?
My guess is that if your unscrupulous plan had come off, it wouldn't have been long after your return to Chicago before the wretched Larry got a letter from you, telling him to come back at once and make an honest woman of you.
You can be wonderfully disagreeable when you like, Uncle Elliot.
I know, it's one of my most cherished gifts. Why didn't you go through with it?
When I looked into his eyes and saw he hadn't the slightest idea I'd set a trap for him, I couldn't bring myself to play such a dirty trick. I couldn't help myself. I suppose it was my better nature.
Nonsense. It was your sound Middle Western horse sense. You'd have been mad to have married him.
I wonder.
Believe me, when you've put the Atlantic between you and that young man, you won't care 2 straws for him. Trust your Uncle Elliot. He's a very wise old party.
Mr. Batron, the cake.
Here's a ninth, Miss Isabel. I mean, Mrs. Maturin. What do I do with it?
Hey, Gray, you get in there. You're in on this.
I told you what to do, Isabel. Take her hand, Gray.
Nothing would please me more. You know, darling, this is the nicest wedding I've ever been to. We should have thought of this sooner.
Oh, Uncle Elliot, how do brides cut their cakes in France?
With a knife, dear.
Now, make a wish, Gray.
I don't have to. I've got my wish.
You know, I've never been able to understand why, when there's so much space in the world, people should deliberately choose to live in the Middle West. What in heaven's name is this? Is it a loan? Doesn't it come with something? What is it?
It could be a pickle fork.
A pickle fork? $2.98, no doubt, at ye gifty shoppe.
$4.50, Mr. Templeton. At Opendorfer's. We know because we sent it.
Charming. Is it for use or ornament?
Both.
Do you remember me? We met the last time I was in Chicago.
Oh, I most certainly do, Mr. Moore.
Hello, sir.
So. Oh, darling. How sweet of you and Bob to come. Let me see you. Oh, you look beautiful, Isabel. Think so?
Like $1 million. Or should I say 20 million?
Darling, we never see you and Bob anymore. Where in the world do you
I never
hide
thought
yourself?
I'd get her,
Well,
but I did.
just at present, for reasons best known to ourselves, we don't mix with the rich.
And we find it too expensive. How's the kid, Bob?
Fine. Would you like
Oh,
to...
please,
Sure.
darling, not now. I'd love to come in to see you. Where do you live now? In a walk-up apartment on the north side. I'd ask you and Gray to dinner, only I'm afraid you wouldn't care for my cooking.
Don't you believe her? She's the best darn cook in Chicago.
All's well that ends well. And I must say they make a very attractive couple.
Oh, no.
I hope they'll be happy.
Why shouldn't they be happy? They have everything in the world to make them happy. Money, position, a nice house. Gray's father can't live forever.
What about Larry? Have you heard anything about him lately?
Good heavens, no. As soon as Isabel and Louisa went away, I dropped him like a hot potato. A most undesirable young man.
I tried to find him the last time I was in Paris, but I couldn't. I wonder what's happened to him.
Shall I tell you something, my dear fella? I don't care a row of beans.
S'il pleut, je travaille toujours, je ne sors jamais. Mais j'aime ça. 6,50 pour vous et vous aussi. 2 canettes de bière.
Hey, Costi.
How about a beer?
Well, I would like to wash up first.
Ah, come on. Good, clean dirt you can wash later. A couple of beers, sweetheart. And a deck of cards. I looked for you last night. You were out. Was she pretty?
No, you're wrong. I went to a lecture at the university. Missed the last bus. Had to walk back in the rain.
It serves you right.
Why?
Enlightenment is the curse of civilization. A man who wastes his energy on knowledge is a fool. The more he learns, the more he wants, and the more unhappy he becomes. Tear down the schoolhouses, burn the books, strangle the teachers. Then the world will get somewhere. Ah, the beer. And the cards, the play for the drink. Why should a man who wants to develop his brain work in a coal mine? Answer me that. You could have gotten a soft job on the surface.
I wanted to work below.
Hiding out, are you? Police after you?
No.
A woman?
No, I just thought it'd do me good to work up a sweat.
What have the other folks told you about me?
Not much. They advised me not to play cards with you because you're cheap.
Do you think it's true?
Yes. I know it is.
Then why do you play with me?
For the fun of it.
Ha!
I've been watching you for days, and I can't see how it's done.
You never will, my boy.
But I shouldn't have thought it worth your while just for the price of a few drinks.
I like to keep my hand in. What are you going to do when you get enough of this? Go back to America?
I will, I suppose, one of these days.
And do what?
Sell bonds.
You're a rum one, Larry. But what about the answers to all those profound questions you have been asking yourself? Don't you know people have been asking the same questions for thousands of years?
Yes, but doesn't the fact that people have been asking those same questions for thousands of years only go to prove that they can't help asking them?
Very good. Very good. You're not altogether stupid. As a matter of fact, you sound like a very religious man who doesn't believe in God.
I'm not sure that I believe in anything.
Have you ever thought of going to the East?
No.
India, for instance? I went there. I met a strange man. A man I never thought to meet in this world. A saint. People go from all parts of India to see him, tell him their troubles, ask his advice, and listen to his teaching. And they go away strengthened in soul and at peace. But it's not his teaching that's so remarkable, but the man himself.
Did he help you?
No. But that wasn't his fault. It was mine.
How did you ever come to go to India?
To escape my pursuer. He followed me there. I have wallowed in the gutters of half the seaports of Europe to put him off my track. He was waiting for me. I know, however far I flee, one day he will come up with me and I shall feel the terrible hand on my shoulder.
But wouldn't it be better to face the issue and take your punishment?
But you don't know what the punishment is. It's not prison or the hangman's rope. I could face that. It's mercy, forgiveness, love. Didn't anybody ever tell you that I'm a unfrocked priest? It's not the police I'm running away from. I'd kill anyone who tried to arrest me. It's God. Get out, you fool. I'm going to get drunk.
अच्छा उसका बंदोबस्त कर दिया है.
Sorry we were interrupted. They're pilgrims. They come from many places, some from quite far distances. What has brought you here, my son?
I've come to learn. Ever since the war, I've been searching for something. Something that I've not been able to put into words. I've been told that from you I might find guidance.
God is the only guide. But perhaps if we talk, he may show me a way to help you.
To my friends, I'm a loafer afraid of responsibilities.
I can't even make those I love understand what I'm after.
The very fact that you've taken the time to come this great distance in search of knowledge proves that you're not afraid of responsibilities. Even to admit that you want to learn is in itself courageous.
I've studied, I've traveled, I've read everything I could get my hands on, and nothing seems to satisfy me. Oh, like everyone else, I want to succeed, I want to improve, but not necessarily in the terms of what the world calls success. Somehow I've lost confidence in the accepted values. I try to get excited at the prospect of settling down, minding my own business and making good. But it only increases my urge to move on. I know that if I do find what I'm looking for, it will be something that I can share with others. But how to find it and where?
All your restlessness and confusion are not unique, my son. The whole world is restless and confused. It will always be so. As long as men set their ideals on the wrong objects, there can be no real happiness until men learn that it comes from within themselves.
I know.
It is written that the wise man lives from within himself, which is from God, from within his own heart. This is the way of calmness, forbearance, compassion, selflessness, and everlasting peace.
That's not easy.
No. The road to salvation is difficult to pass over, as difficult as the sharp edge of a razor. But there's much we know, and all religions teach it. There is in every one of us a spark of the infinite goodness which created us. And when we leave this earth, we are reunited with it, as a raindrop falling from heaven is at last reunited with the sea which gave it birth.
May I stay here with you?
Of course you may. Our life's very simple. There are books. We will talk together. You can even work in the fields if you wish. We Indians believe there are 3 roads that lead to God. One is the path of faith and worship. One is the path of good works performed for the love of God. And then there is a 3rd path, which leads through knowledge to wisdom. You have chosen the way of knowledge. But you'll find in the end, my son, that the 3 paths are but one path. One of my students will show you where to sleep.
Thank you.
Excuse me, please.
Yes, sir.
Operator. Michigan 7182. Want to get Mr. Gray Maturin.
Is Dr. Thompson in there?
Yes, he is.
We'll hold the hypo for now. She's doing all right.
You want it, Doctor?
I'm Gray Maturin, Doctor. They sent for me. How is she?
She's conscious now. She asked about her husband. Will you tell her?
Tell her? Doesn't she know?
No, she should be told before a possible shock reaction. You're an old friend.
Hello, Gray. It was nice of you to come.
I got here as quickly as I could.
It's such a silly thing to happen. A bunch of drunks. They ran into us at an intersection. We might all have been killed. It was lucky I was holding the baby in my arms. Is the car badly damaged? Where's Bob?
Careful of her arm.
Where's Bob? I want Bob. Bob?
You have to stay in bed, Mrs. McDonald.
Take it easy, Sophie.
No. I've got to see Bob and baby. Baby!
Don't let her get up. I'll get the doctor.
Sophie, be a good girl and lie down.
Leave me alone, you swine!
Please, Sophie.
Is Bob dead, Gray? Is he dead? You can tell me, Gray.
Yes.
Maybe two. Linda! Linda! Baby!
Hypo.
Linda, wake up, baby. Wake up, baby. Wake up.
Well, are you ready to start on your pilgrimage?
Yes. I'll miss it here. I've been very happy.
We'll miss you too. But you got all you can get from books. It's time for you now to put the world behind you for a while. To isolate yourself completely from everything. Sometimes very strange things happen when you're in the mountains. Not a living soul within miles of you. Nothing above you but the sky and God.
What sort of things?
That, my son, depends on you. You'll find a little shelter up there at the very top. Go in, make yourself at home. After you've been there some time, perhaps I shall pay you a visit. Let me look at you. Yes, I see.
You were right. Something very strange did happen to me.
I know. Tell me.
It was just at that moment before night ends and day begins, when the whole world seems to tremble in the balance. Gradually, the light began to filter through the darkness, like some mysterious figure stealing through the trees. And then the first rays of the sun came up. The mountains, the mist caught in the treetops. I'd never before felt or seen anything like it.
I know. I come here often.
I felt that I'd been released from my body, that I was suspended in midair. All the things that had been confused before suddenly became clear to me. I had a sense of knowledge more than human. I felt that I'd broken away and was free. I felt that if it lasted another minute, I'd die. And yet I was willing to die if I could just hold on to it, because for that one moment, I had the feeling that
you and God were one.
Yes. I'm sure I could stay here forever and never tire of it.
No. You must go back. You're now ready to go back. That's not necessarily to leave the world, my son, but rather to live in the world and to love the objects of the world, not for themselves alone, but for what there is in them of God. Your place is with your own people. You, my son, are one of the fortunate ones. By the grace of God, it's been given you to see the infinite beauty of the world, which is only the reflection seen through a glass darkly of the beauty of God. That sense of joy, that vision of his beauty will remain with you fresh and vivid till the day of your death.
Bien, monsieur. Au revoir.
Monsieur Duquette.
Oui, monsieur.
Venez, venez. This crest is not in the proper place at all. The crest belongs up here, up here. I'm not running in the Olympic Games, you know. It'll all have to be done over immediately. Now, about this robe. It's really dreadful, dreadful. And look at this tassel. Hideous. It should strike me here at the knees, lower, lower, so that when I walk, it'll sway. As it is now, it just bubbles. Where are my ties?
Les cravates de monsieur, tout de suite.
It isn't. By Jove, it is.
Oh.
My dear fella.
Elliot.
Wherever have you been all these years?
I've been a lot in the Orient. The last time I passed through Paris, you were away.
Come in, come in. I have a house on the Riviera now. I reach the time of life when I'm prepared to relax and enjoy the beauties of nature.
You surprise me, Elliot. You've always looked on nature as an impediment to social intercourse.
Paris is not what it was. There's practically nobody to know here anymore. But on the Riviera, there's some really quite nice people. In fact, the shores of the Mediterranean are simply littered with royalties. Heavens knows I'm not a snob. But just as a matter of interest, I don't mind telling you that on one occasion I had 2 ex-kings to lunch. 2.
How nice. Elliot, what the devil's that crown doing over your initials?
His Holiness has been graciously pleased to revive in my favor my old family title.
Your what?
Well, didn't you know? I'm descended in the female line from the Count de Loria, who came over to England with Philip II and married a maid of honor to Queen Mary. As an American citizen, I feel it more modest not to use my title except on all my personal linen.
I think that's a very pretty gesture on your part, Elliot.
Je les prends toutes. I don't mind telling you, I take a modest pride in concealing my rank under the sober pinstripe of an American gentleman. You know that Isabel, the Grey matron, I hear, with their 2 children.
Oh, I didn't know. I've only just arrived in Paris.
They were wiped out in the crash.
Ah, yes, I heard that.
Poor Isabel even had to sell her jewels. Gray tried to get a job, but it appears there was no business. The result was a nervous breakdown, and he suffers from the most frightful headaches. He couldn't take a job now, even if he could get one.
Oh, I am so sorry.
I couldn't allow them to live like pigs, Isabel without a maid and no governess for the children. So I've left my apartment here until Gray can get back on his feet again.
You're the most generous creature in the world, Elliot.
Allez, chef d'idée.
Nonsense. If I'm taking care of them, it's because, well, noblesse oblige, you know. Can I drop them somewhere?
What about coming and having a spot of lunch with me? I'm expecting an old friend of yours.
I was not aware that I had any old friends in Paris. And even if I have, I assure you, nothing would give me less pleasure than to meet them at this time of day.
Come along, jump in. We're meeting at the Dome.
I dislike being hustled. To the Dome.
And what about you? Were you hurt in the crash?
God tempers the wind to the shore and land. I happened to be in Rome in September 29. My friends strongly advised me to sell my American securities. I very sensibly took their advice.
So when the crash came, you were sitting pretty.
An Americanism, my dear fellow, which I see no occasion for you to use, but it expresses my situation with a good deal of accuracy. In fact, I was inspired to sell short and made what you would probably call a killing.
You're a downy old bird, Elliot.
I have a flair. I do not like the propinquity of the hoi polloi. Oh, hello. Larry, I thought you were dead.
Oh, sorry to disappoint you.
I'm delighted to see you, Larry. Where have you sprung from?
India.
India. Have you been tired?
Oui, monsieur. Paris.
If you gentlemen will excuse me, I will now leave you. I find I have an engagement. Goodbye, my dear fellow.
Goodbye.
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 Do you know Isabel and Gray are here?
Really? Where are they staying?
In Elliot's apartment. Their children are with them.
Oh, I must look them up.
If you don't want to scare them out of their wits and drive their 2 little girls into hysterics, you'd better get a haircut.
Well, that'd be a good idea anyway.
They've had rather a bad time. The matchmaking company was wiped out in the crash. Gray had a nervous breakdown.
Poor Gray. Oh, I am sorry to hear that.
What did you do in India?
I learned something about myself. I was very happy there.
Mr. Momsen. Yes, I know. Hello, Mr.
Hello.
Mom. Good to see you again. Isabel told me she talked with you on the telephone. Would you tell Mrs. Matra and Mr. Mom's here? Yes.
I'm very sorry to hear you've been under the weather, Gray.
Oh, it's just one of those things that comes and goes. I can't seem to get rid of it. I thought perhaps if I came over here for a few months, the change might do me good.
Hello. Mr. Moore.
Isabel, this is a pleasure. How are the children?
Oh, wonderful. Growing by leaps and bounds. How's it now, dear?
Oh, I'm all right.
If you'll excuse me, I always feel such a nuisance when I'm like this.
Do you want anything, dear?
No.
Sure?
Mm-hmm.
Poor boy.
What a pity. I was hoping you and Gray would dine with me tonight.
Oh, I'd love to. But he really suffers. You look very well, Mr. Mom.
I am very well. Larry hasn't arrived yet.
Larry?
Yes, he lunched with me today. He said he would drop in on you this afternoon.
Larry in Paris? Where has he been?
India?
But I didn't know. I didn't know he'd been in India. Do you realize I haven't laid eyes on him for years? Did you tell him we'd lost all our money?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny when you come to think of it. That we should have almost exactly the income that Larry had when he wanted me to marry him. And I wouldn't because we couldn't possibly live on it. And now I have 2 children besides.
I don't think you're so terribly to be pitied.
Mes enfants, ils agacent leur père quand il a mal à la tête. Excuse me.
Voyons, mes petites, je vous en prie, votre pauvre père a encore mal à la tête. Mais viens, fais plus de bruit, hein?
Viens, donne-moi un baiser, tu veux pas?
Mr. Darrow.
Oui, monsieur.
Isabel. Hello, Isabel.
Larry. Oh, Larry, I can't believe it.
Where did they go?
Who? Oh, the brood. Come on, babies. Come on, darling. Come back.
Oh, come here. What's your name?
Joan.
Joan. And how old are you?
7.
7.
This is Priscilla.
7. It has been a long time.
Yes, a long time.
It's a lovely brood. Where's Gray?
In the library. Run along, darling.
Hello, Larry.
Hello.
Come in and see Gray. Gray, look who's here.
Hello, Gray. Don't get up.
Larry, I am glad to see you. Sorry you caught me like this. Blinding headache.
Yes.
Mr. Mom wants to take us all out this evening.
Yes, I thought we'd dine and do the town. Do you feel up to it?
Well, that's very nice of you, Mr. Moore, but I'm afraid not. Larry will go, won't you, Larry?
Oh, poor Gray.
Oh, now you sail on, all of you. Don't let me spoil your evening.
No, wait a minute. Would you let me see if I can help you?
How?
I mean, I might be able to help you help yourself.
All right.
Here. Sit down.
What are you going to do?
Wait.
What's this?
It's an old coin from India. Here. Close your fingers tightly on this. Palm downward. Now, don't fight me. Don't make any effort. Just squeeze the coin with your closed fist. Before I count 10, your hand will open and the coin will drop out of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I didn't let that coin drop. It fell out of itself.
It's not important. I just thought it might give you confidence in me.
Why?
You'll see. Here. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Here.
What do you want me to do?
Well, come back in the corner and sit right against those cushions now. Get comfortable. Are you comfortable?
Think so.
Have you got a watch?
Yes.
palm downward. Thank you. 6:43. In 60 seconds, your eyelids will grow heavy. So heavy that you will be obliged to close them. Then you will sleep for another minute. At 6:45, you will wake up, and you will have no more pain. No more pain.
That in India.
There's nothing miraculous about it. I merely put an idea into his head. He's doing the rest himself.
I did doze off.
Is your head better?
I don't know. Could be. You did something. What did you do?
I didn't do it. You did it yourself.
Did I?
Of course.
That's a new one. A moment ago, my head was splitting wide open from here to here.
How's it now?
Well, it's certainly better.
Do you think you could cure him permanently?
Well, I can't work miracles, but there's no reason why he couldn't cure himself in time.
But that was a miracle. I saw it.
Well, whatever it was, it sure helped.
Enough to come along to dinner with us.
Sure, I'd like to come to dinner. I haven't eaten a thing all day.
You're coming, Larry.
I'd love to. You know, I haven't danced with you for years, Isabel. I'd like to find out if I still know how.
We'll see. I'll go get my things. Oh, would you like a drink, Mr. Mom, Larry? Everything's here.
Oh, hello. How's your friend Elliot Templeton?
Pretty well, I think.
Who was that?
The Princess Nova Malley.
Oh?
Edna.
Funny fellow, that Larry. He doesn't look a day older than he did when he left Chicago all those years ago.
India changed him.
Changed him?
He looks extraordinarily happy to me. Calm, yet strangely aloof.
Excuse me, do you have a match?
Oh, yes.
Did you get the car?
Not yet.
Thanks.
Does he dance as well as ever?
I didn't notice.
You're not going to be so silly as to fall in love with him again, are you?
I've never stopped loving him. I've never loved anyone else in my life.
Marriage is a pretty difficult job, even when one's in love. I shouldn't have thought it much fun when one is not.
One can get on all right without that.
Gray is such a good fellow. Be a pity to hurt him.
I'll never do anything to hurt him. I'm too fond of him for that.
But it's your business, not mine. Where to now? How about Les Ambassadeurs?
Oh, no, I'm sick of all these smart places.
Well?
How about the Rue de Lac? I've never been there. At least it will be different.
The Rue de Lac in those clothes?
Oh, nonsense. I can keep my jacket on. Oh, please, it'll be fun.
Okay.
Don't blame us if you don't like it.
You better pull down the blinds if you don't want a bottle through the window in that district. Vous connaissez la Rue de Lac?
Oui, monsieur.
Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Ah, m'en parle pas, moi. J'ai une bande d'Américains là-bas, je me demande ce que les mecs là viennent foutre ici.
scared, I like.
Look at that. Policeman Bubble will choose this very moment to raid the place.
I should be filled to the marrow. Hey, on a des Américains ici.
C'est les temps noirs. Toutes les Américaines sont brusquées comme ça.
Any champagne in Paris is all right, isn't it?
Well, I don't.
Well, well, look who's here.
Sophie.
Who should think it was? Sit down, all of you. Hello, Gray. Sit down.
I'll get you a chair, Sophie.
Vincent,
Voilà.
une chaise.
Prends-la toi-même, feignasse.
Fancy meeting you all like this. Hello, Larry.
Hi, Brown Eyes. How are you?
Thirsty. Come on, let's all have a drink. Patron!
Venez ces messieurs-dames, Sophie.
Do I know them? They're my childhood friends.
Donnez-nous une bouteille de champagne.
T'es encore saoul, hein, ma pauvre Sophie.
That girl who says I'm drunk. I know you.
You came to Chicago. Bit of a stuffed shirt, aren't you?
Maybe.
I can't say you seem so terribly pleased to see me.
I heard you were in Paris, Sophie.
You might have called me. I'm in the phone book.
Are you?
Yes.
Having a good time over here, Sophie?
Fine. You went bust, didn't you, Gray? Tough on you. I guess it must be pretty grim in Chicago right now. Lucky for me, I got out when I did. Where are those drinks? Amène les verres et flancs de rouge.
Here they are, Sophie.
Voilà.
Yours, Sophie.
My loving in-laws kicked me out of Chicago. Said I was gumming up their reputation.
Et alors, Sophie, tu viens, on va en danser une?
Oh, la paix, tu vois donc pas que je suis avec des amis?
Tes copains, je m'en fous, moi. Allez, viens, on danse.
Look out, Coco. He's the quiet type. He'll lay you out cold.
Salope, va.
Is that a friend of yours, Sophie?
Yes, that's a friend of mine, Isabel. And you living in Paris now, Larry?
Yes, I am, Sophie.
You remember the summer before the war?
Sure.
We saw a lot of each other then.
When?
And you and your mother being social. We used to read poetry together. Remember, Larry?
You used to write some poetry yourself in those days.
Pretty good, too, wasn't it?
Not bad. For a kid.
It was good. Well, I better get back to my boyfriend. Or he'll raise the roof. He's a sulky brute, but quite a man. Come and see me when you've nothing better to do. I've got a case of scotch. So long, folks. Come again. I'm here every night.
I'm afraid that was not a great success.
Some shocked to see Sophie. Boy, was she tight.
If not worse.
That's funny. I got the same impression. Do you remember her at all?
Very well. I liked her. I remember her husband.
You never saw two people so crazy about each other. They got to be a regular joke around Chicago.
But what happened?
Didn't you know? Bob and the baby were killed.
A car hit them.
So that's what it is.
She nearly went crazy.
We did all we could to help her, but it was no good. If you asked her to dinner, she'd come in plastered and pass out before the evening was over. Last, we simply had to drop her.
She became impossible.
Of course, it was a shock, and I was terribly sorry for her. But a normal person recovers. If she went to pieces, it was because she was always unbalanced. Even her love for Bob was exaggerated. Aren't I right, Larry?
No, I don't agree with you, Isabel. She was as normal as any person I've ever known. Well, remember, I knew her better than you did.
Was she in love with you?
Good heavens, no. She was only a kid. Just a skinny little girl with a bow in her hair. I remember her crying once when I was reading an ode of Keats. Because it was so beautiful.
Girls of that age are very emotional.
Oh, there was a lot to her in those days. She had what Keats probably would have called a sort of lovely purity. Chauffeur, would you stop at the next corner? I want to get out, please.
Hey, Larry, you're not going to run out of sight.
Well, my hotel's only a step from here. Oh.
Good night.
Larry, will we see you?
Of course.
We're going to Vitel on Thursday with Uncle Elliot. He wants to take the cure. We'll be back by the 1st of the month. I'll call you.
Fine. Well, good night. Good night, Gray.
Good night, Larry.
Good night, Larry. And thanks for the dinner.
Alors. Oh, excusez-moi, mademoiselle, je ne savais pas que c'était vous. Non, monsieur Darren n'est pas encore rentré. Non. Un message pour lui. Oh, attendez, mademoiselle. Il arrive maintenant. Attendez. Monsieur Darren. Téléphone. Oh, merci.
Hello?
Larry. At last. I've been trying to reach you for hours. Aren't you ever in?
Hardly ever. When did you get back?
This morning. Uncle Elliot insisted on being here in time for Elsa's soiree tonight. Poor dear, he's not at all well. But he will go to all these parties.
How's Gray getting along?
Oh, Larry, you've simply done wonders for him. He started to play golf again. He blames it all on you. And what have you been doing?
Oh, one thing and another. I've seen a lot of Sophie.
Really? Why?
Well, after all, she's an old friend.
If you want my opinion, I think you're wasting your time.
She stopped drinking.
Oh, Larry, you're the most gullible person I've ever known. She'll never stop drinking. Sophie wallows in the gutter because she likes it. A blind person could see that.
Well, just the same, I do wish you'd be nice to her, Isabel. We're going to be married.
What? Married?
Yes, that's right. It's all settled.
You're not serious. You can't be.
But I am. Aren't you going to congratulate me?
I am not. I think you're... What's kept you? You've been hours.
I came the instant I got your call. What's happened?
It's about Larry and Sophie. The idiot. The stupid, blind idiot. He must be mad.
If you'd calm down for a moment, I might be able to make head or tail of what you're trying to say.
He's going to marry her.
Oh. Oh. How do you know?
How should I know? He just called me on the phone. Oh, I'm frantic.
So I see.
He even had the effrontery to ask me to be nice to her.
Well, it's his own affair, isn't it?
She's an awful woman. She's bad, bad, bad. She soused from morning till night.
That doesn't necessarily mean she's bad. Quite a number of respectable citizens get drunk and do silly things. They're bad habits like biting one's nails, but I don't know if they're worse than that. I call a person bad who lies and cheats and is unkind.
If you're going to take her part, I'll kill you.
I'd prefer it if you gave me a cup of tea.
Oh, help yourself. He's seen a lot of her since we were at that dive that night. He says she's quit drinking. The fool thinks he's cured her.
Have you forgotten what he did for Gray?
That had nothing to do with it. Thanks. Gray wanted to be cured. She doesn't.
How do you know?
Because I know women. Do you think she'll stick to Larry? Of course not. Sooner or later, she'll break out. It's in her blood. It's a brute she wants. That's what excites her. And it's a brute she'll go after. She'll lead Larry to hell.
It's very probable, but I don't see what you can do about it.
I can do nothing about it. But you can.
I?
Larry likes you, and he listens to what you say. You know the world. Go to him and tell him he can't make such a fool of himself. Tell him it'll ruin him.
He'd only tell me it's none of my business, and he'd be quite right. It may not turn out so badly as you think.
Oh, you make me tired. She's rotten to the core. Do you think I've sacrificed myself only to let Larry fall into the hands of a woman like that?
How did you sacrifice yourself?
I gave up Larry for one reason only. Because I didn't want to stand in his way.
Oh, come off it, Isabel. You gave him up for a square-cut diamond and a sable coat.
Oh!
Oh. You know, your Uncle Elliot wouldn't have thanked you if you'd broken one of his Crown Derby plates. They were made for the Duchess of Dorset, and they're priceless.
Pick up that bread and butter.
Pick it up yourself.
And you call yourself an English gentleman?
No, that's one thing I've never done.
Oh, get out of here. I never want to see you again. I hate the sight of you.
I'm sorry for that, because the sight of you always gives me pleasure. Have you ever been told that your nose is exactly like that of the Psyche in the Museum of Naples? And that's the loveliest representation of virginal beauty that ever existed. You've got exquisite legs, so long and shapely. I can't cease to be surprised at them because they were thick and lumpy when I first saw you. I can't imagine how you've managed it.
An iron will.
But of course, your most fascinating feature are your hands. They're so slim and elegant.
I was under the impression you thought them too big.
Not for your height and build. I'm always amazed at the infinite grace with which you use them. Huh? Whether by nature or by art, you never make a gesture without imparting beauty to it. They're like flowers sometimes, and sometimes like birds on the wing.
There are moments when I don't positively dislike you. In fact, sometimes I think you're rather sweet.
I will not have my face smeared with lipstick. If you want to kiss me on the lips, which is what a merciful providence provided them for. Thank you. Now, what's it you want?
Advice.
There's only one thing you can do. Make the best of a bad job. Larry's in the grip of the most powerful emotion that can beset the breast of man. Self-sacrifice. He's got to save the soul of the wretched woman whom he had known as an innocent child. And there's nothing you or I or anyone can do to prevent it.
But he's going to be so unhappy.
Do you love him very much?
It is a nuisance, isn't it? But I can't help it.
And you don't want to lose him altogether? Then make friends with Sophie. Be as nice to her as you can.
Ask her to lunch. Would be rather awkward for me after what I've just said to Larry.
Will you behave if I do?
Like an angel of light.
I'll fix it up. 1 o'clock tomorrow at the Ritz. What are you thinking? I don't quite like the look of you.
I'm sorry. I thought that was the one thing about me you did like.
You haven't got some scheme you've been hatching up?
Oh, I promise you I haven't. As a matter of fact, I'm terribly curious to see what she looks like, now that Larry's reformed her. Mais c'est la coiffure, le maquillage, les roses.
Oh, there you are. Excuse me. Mr. Malm's table?
In the lounge, monsieur.
Thank you.
Larry, you like it?
You look fine. Come on.
Hello, Larry.
Well, Miss Keith.
How do you do?
It's certainly nice to see you.
Hello, Sophie. Oh, hello, Isabel. Sophie, I'm so happy for you. Thank you. Hello, Larry. Here they are.
Thank you for asking us. Hello, Gray.
Hello, Larry.
Isabel tells me you're feeling much better.
Better's not the word for it. I feel great. I haven't had to take a sleeping pill since the night we went out together. I'm your press agent. If you ever hang out your shingle, let me know.
I'll do that.
Oh, a cocktail.
No, thank you. Here.
No, thanks. You don't mind if we do? Oh, no, of course not.
Go right ahead.
Oh, look, Uncle Elliot. He behaves exactly as if the Ritz were his private house. I'm sure he's telling them all how pleased he is they were able to accept his invitation.
I'd rather not discuss it.
Allons déjeuner.
Isabel? That bloody woman. How do you do? It's charming to see you again. May I offer you my best wishes? I hope you'll be very happy.
Thank you.
The same to you.
Thank you.
Cocktail, Elliot?
No, I would not like a cocktail. I drink nothing but Vichy. Look at her. You all know her, of course, the Princess Edna Novimele. You never think she was an American, but I knew her before she came over here from Milwaukee. And that frustrated old maid secretary of hers. If you ask me, they look like a couple of fugitives from Madame Tussauds waxworks. And where will you and Larry go on your honeymoon, my dear?
Greece, isn't it? Greece.
It ought to be lovely there this time of year.
Lovely.
How about a liqueur, Gray?
Yes, I think I will.
Ah, yes, this. Sophie?
No, thanks.
You're very foolish, my dear. It's excellent.
No, Uncle Elliot, she doesn't want it.
Gray?
A little glass, monsieur.
Bonjour, Herbert. No, alas, it's forbidden me. My doctors won't let me touch alcohol.
Tu de Perzovka, kind to monsieur no harm.
Perzovka? Perzovka. I'll just have a look at the bottle.
I'm sorry to hear you've been ill, Elliot. You ought to take care of yourself.
Perzovka. It can't hurt me for once. Just a drop. 2 drops, perhaps. We used to drink it at the Radzivilles when I stayed with them for the shooting. You should have seen those Polish princes putting it away. They drink it with a tumbler and never turn a hair. I don't care whether Sophie's on the wagon or not. She must try this. It's an experience no one can miss. It's like listening to music by moonlight.
I'd rather not.
Isabel?
I smell.
That's the herbs they put in it.
Oh, very good. Can we have some of this at the apartment?
Certainly, I'll have a few bottles sent around.
What did you say it was like, Uncle Elliot? Like listening to music by moonlight. It is. Sophie.
Yes?
I saw the most divine wedding dress at Molyneux. Let me give it to you for a wedding present. Uncle Elliot and me.
What? That's very nice of you, Isabel, but Sophie has one already picked out.
Oh, don't be stuffy, Larry. Let us give her a dress. I'll call Molyneux and arrange a fitting. May she?
Certainly, it's very nice of you.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Not at all. Not at all.
Suppose you pick me up tomorrow at 3 at the apartment.
Larry, you know the address, don't you?
Yes, I know the address.
Oh, good heavens, we don't want you. You're only the groom. I'll see you at 3. Yes, it was a lovely party. No, of course I did. I behaved like an angel. I always do. Oh, how silly. Stop imagining things. I meant every word of it. Yes. Yes. Tomorrow. At 5. That was Somerset Maugham on the telephone. He always gives me the queerest feeling. As if he were leading other people's lives for them. But I dare say that comes of being a novelist. Here. Oh.
Thanks. Mr. Maugham. I called him a stuffed shirt that night, didn't I?
What does it matter? That's all past. You weren't yourself. Your mind was miles away when I came in. Where was it, with Larry?
No, right here I was thinking.
What?
You always wanted Larry for yourself.
I've always wanted to see him happy.
You hate me for marrying him, don't you?
No. I don't hate you at all. I'd hate anyone or anything that came in the way of his happiness.
I'll be a good wife.
I hope you will.
I was before.
I know you were. Sophie, don't misunderstand me.
I don't.
What are we getting into? Coffee? Ice?
No, thanks.
I'm going to have a drink. Oh, look. Uncle Elliot sent the Perzovka.
The what?
Don't you remember? He raved about it yesterday.
Oh, yes. The Perzovka.
Poor Uncle Elliot. He exaggerates about so many things, but for once he's right. I love the color. Like the green you sometimes see in the heart of a white rose. Poor Sophie.
I haven't had a drink since that night in the Rue de Lappe.
Must be awful. Just to break off completely, all at once.
Sometimes when I've been alone, I wanted to shake the house down. But I've quit. Yesterday at the Ritz was tough going.
I know, I saw it.
Did you? Did I show it?
Only to me, I think. It meant something to me.
Larry, you mean? Larry's happiness. He's good. He's really good, Isabel. I was gone. Lost. Gone. This is my only chance, I know that.
Excuse me. Is the car here?
Yes, ma'am.
Could we talk more?
Of course, as much as you want.
Will you wait for me? I've got to pick up Joan at the dentist's. I promised I would.
Your baby. How old is she now?
7. Here.
She's lovely. Linda would have been 9 in November. This November that's coming.
Stay here. I'll be back and we can talk.
fille. Elle a loupé du bon fric américain, hein?
Sophie, mais elle appartient à Stuttgart. Ils radignent tous de Chicago.
Il était un dictionnaire. Alors, t'as trouvé ce que tu cherchais?
Et la ferme, toi. Ça, c'est pas tes oignons.
If you see Sophie MacDonald, the American, tell her I'll be back later.
Tu pourrais pas parler français?
Oui. Si vous voyez Sophie MacDonald, l'américaine, dites-lui que je reviendrai plus tard.
C'est bon, on lui dira.
Qu'est-ce que tu pêches?
C'est plus que pareil.
Ferme la porte des ballons!
Bonsoir, mon prince. J'espère qu'on ne verra plus que vous êtes en titillé. Il y a le resto qui rapplique.
Perzovska, mon chéri. Hi, big boy. Please, pass me some Perzovska. Perzovska, mon chéri. Est-ce qu'ils boivent cela en Algérie?
Pardon, monsieur. Où est cette dame à demander un Perzovka?
Américaine ou narguilé?
Where's that? Où est-ce?
Je te conseille pas de te montrer là-bas.
Voulez-vous gagner 100 francs?
À votre service, monsieur. I speak the English from London.
Very well, come along.
Par ici, monseigneur. Par ici. Cette fois, j'ai trouvé un pigeon. It's better I do not go in, monsieur. I will wait for you there.
Surveillez cette trajet.
Come on, Sophie.
Let's get out of here.
Hello, Larry. Come on, join us. Perzovka. You must try some. It smells nice. Like listening to music by moonlight.
Come along, Sophie. Up you go.
Come with me now. I'll buy you a drink someplace else.
Come.
Take your hands off me. I don't need you. I don't need anyone.
Dépêchez-vous!
Dépêchez-vous, je peux pas la police.
Retirez-vous, hein? Gardez lui, Marie.
Allez!
Quittez-moi.
That was the very last I saw or heard of Sylvia MacDonald for almost a year. As a matter of record, it's the very last any of us knew of her. I settled down at my cottage on the Riviera near Cap Ferrat to finish my book. And then one day, the police of Toulon sent for me.
Chaleur, Sainte Mère.
Un vieux lot de mère comme toi qui se plaint de la chaleur. Alors, qu'est-ce que tu me racontes? C'est un peu fort.
Écoute-moi, ce n'est pas seulement la chaleur, c'est moi qui commence.
Monsieur Mom.
Bonjour, monsieur le commissaire.
Good morning, Monsieur Maugham. I see Monsieur Maugham wears the Légion d'honneur.
I have that distinction.
I must apologize for being obliged to inconvenience a person of your distinction.
Why, sure, nothing could make me happier than being of service to you. Now, about this.
Yes, this is a very dirty business, monsieur. It appears that the woman, Sophie MacDonald, had a very evil reputation. She was brutally murdered.
What?
Her body was fished out of the harbor. The throat was cut from ear to ear.
Dreadful.
N'est-ce pas? C'est épouvantable. Alors je ne comprends pas, monsieur. How does it happen that a person of your age and respectability should be acquainted with such a character?
I knew her very slightly.
This volume was found in her room. If you will examine the autograph page, you will see it hardly suggest that your acquaintance with her was as slight as you claim. Mignonne, allons voir si la rose. Mignonne.
My sweet, let us see if the rose... If you're suggesting I was her lover, you're mistaken.
It would be no affair of mine, and without wishing to say anything offensive to you, I must add that from what I've heard of her proclivities, I should say that you were not her type.
I'm prepared to take that as a compliment.
Nevertheless, it is evident that you will not address a perfect stranger as my sweet.
That line, Monsieur le Commissaire, is the first of a celebrated poem by Ronsard, with whose works I am certain a man of your education and culture must be familiar.
Ronsard. Ronsard. Oh, Ronsard! Évidemment, tout le monde connaît Ronsard. Of course, I studied Ronsard at school, but with all the work I have to do, I must confess that line has escaped my memory.
As a matter of fact, I signed this book for her years ago in Chicago.
Hello, Mr. Maugham.
Larry, I didn't know you were here. I thought you were living in Sanary.
Yeah, they sent for me. Have they told you?
That is dreadful.
I've just seen her at the morgue. I had to identify her for the police.
Pardon, Monsieur Maugham. You know this individual?
I do. He's an American citizen. His name is Lawrence Darrow.
And what do you know of Monsieur Lawrence Dorel?
He's a student, a young man of impeccable character.
Ah, impeccable, eh? And how long have you known this young man of impeccable character?
Approximately 10 years.
Huh?
Have any arrangements been made to bury her?
Well, if you are prepared to undertake the expense of the funeral yourself, you will receive the necessary authorization. Pardon, monsieur. I have here a card of an undertaker, a personal friend of mine, who will arrange the matter for you on terms and with dispatch.
You are a marvel of efficiency, Monsieur le Commissaire.
You flatter me beaucoup, Monsieur Maugham.
May I see where she lived?
You have not seen that room before?
No, I have not.
Well, en ce cas, messieurs, suivez-moi. Alors, nous allons à la maison du crime, n'est-ce pas? Par ici, messieurs.
Look.
Who are these people?
That's her husband. That's her baby.
Where are they now?
Dead, monsieur. A long time ago.
Oh.
May those be buried with her?
In that frame, monsieur?
Yes.
As you wish, monsieur.
This is the ode of Keats that I read to her when she was a very little girl.
I remember you mentioned it that night in the car on the way from the Rue de Lep.
It's something I've always remembered her by. The day is gone and all its sweets are gone. Sweet voice, sweet lips, soft hand and softer breast. Warm breath, light whisper, tender semitone. Bright eyes, accomplished shape and languorous waist. Faded the flower and all its budded charms. Faded the sight of beauty from my eyes. Faded the shape of beauty from my arms. Faded the voice, warmth, whiteness, paradise. Vanished unseasonably at shut of eve.
My advice is that you go and have a good dinner. I have a card here of one of the best restaurants in Toulon. It will assure you of the patron's attention. A bottle of wine will do you both good after this harrowing experience.
I've got to get on to Nice this afternoon. Elliot Templeton's had a relapse.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Do Gray and Isabel know?
Yes, I only hope they'll arrive in time. I wish you'd come with me.
I'd like to, of course, but I was never one of Uncle Elliot's favorites, if you remember.
Eh ben quoi? Allez, Oust, c'est fini. Il n'y a plus rien à faire ici maintenant.
Good afternoon, Joseph.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. I'll let Mr. Templeton know that you're here, sir.
How is he?
Very weak, sir. The doctors say there's no hope. May I speak to you on a very delicate matter, sir?
Of course.
The time is growing short, and Mr. Templeton should receive the last sacraments. I hesitate to mention it to him, sir, but perhaps...
I should be glad to suggest it.
Thank you, sir.
La cloche dans le ciel qu'on voit doucement teinte. Un oiseau sur l'arbre qu'on voit chante sa plainte.
I hear voices. See who it is. Entrez.
Mr. Mond, Mr. Dell.
Ah, my dear fella, how very nice to see you. And Larry. Well, this is a surprise. Sit down. Sit down.
Mr. Mom said you were sick.
Did he? Well, I am sick.
But you don't look it. You look extremely well.
Well, really now, young Mr. Larry Darrell, that's the most sensible thing I've ever heard you say. Of course, he's right. It's only a temporary indisposition. Got the Grand Duke lunching with me on Sunday, and I've told my doctor he must put me to rights by then at all costs. It's too bad this should have happened just now. It's a particularly brilliant season. Are you going to Edna Novimelli's party?
Of course not.
Has she asked you?
She's asked everybody in Europe. She's giving a great do. Fancy dress.
Fancy dress. She hasn't asked me. It's a deliberate insult.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. Why should she want to insult you? It's just an oversight.
I'm not a man that people overlook.
But perhaps she doesn't know you're in the south of France.
Don't be ridiculous, Larry. Everybody knows I'm in the south of France. It's going to be the best party of the season. If I was on my deathbed, I'd go to it.
Never mind, old boy. It may rain the night of the party. That'll ruin it.
I never thought of that. I'll pray for rain as I've never prayed before. The old witch. She'd never have got anywhere if it hadn't been for me. Now, she doesn't invite me to the greatest party of her career. Fireworks, my dear fellow. There are going to be fireworks. So unkind. I hate them. I hate them all. They've eaten my food and drunk my wine. I've run their errands for them. I've made their parties for them. What have I got out of it? Nothing. Now that I'm old and sick, they have no use for me. They don't care whether I live or die. Not one of them. Oh, it's so cruel. I wish I'd never left America.
afraid you're very ill, Elliot. Much iller than you think. I was wondering if you'd like to see a priest.
Do you mean to say I'm going to die?
Oh, I hope not, but it's as well to be on the safe side.
I understand. Don't be upset, my dear fella. Noblesse oblige, you know.
You ridiculous creature, Elliot.
Will you call the bishop and tell him I'd appreciate if he'd send Father Charles? He's a friend of mine.
I'll go and do that now.
Thank you.
Well, may I borrow your car for a few moments?
Of course.
I thought I'd run over to Princess Novamali's house. Her secretary's an old Scotch girl that I've known for years, and I think I can do something about that invitation.
She's a spiteful woman, Edna. There'll be 1,000 people at that party. It couldn't have hurt her at least to ask Elliot.
Leave that to me.
Don't worry about the bags, darling.
There you are, darling.
Mr. Moore. Larry.
Hello.
This is a surprise. I had no idea you were here.
Hello, Gray.
How is he?
I'm afraid you've come only just in time.
Oh, poor Uncle Elliot.
I think he'd like to see you. Come on.
Sorry, you're not leaving.
I'll be right back.
Bonjour, mademoiselle. Ah, bonjour, madame. Donnez-moi votre manteau.
Oh, merci.
It's more usual to come in by the door, Larry.
Hello. I thought the room was empty.
Then may I inquire what you're doing here?
I'm a burglar, dear.
Fancy that now. And I thought for one happy moment that you'd come here to attack me.
No, Miss Keith. No, I came to steal a card for the princess's party. She hasn't asked Elliot Templeton.
I know she hasn't. She crossed his name off on the list herself.
He's awfully hurt at being left out.
Well, if he wanted to keep in with her, he shouldn't have said those terrible things about her and her chauffeur. The unfortunate part about it is that they're all true.
Well, you have nothing against him, have you?
Oh, no. He's always been very nice to me. He's a gentleman, and that's more than you can say about most of the people who come here to fill their fat bellies at the princess's expense.
Oh, come, Miss Keith, be a good sport. Give me a card. He won't come. He's dying, and it'll make the poor old man so happy.
The cards are on the desk. I'm going to look out of the window to observe the beauty of the prospect. And what happens when my back is turned, neither God nor man can hold me responsible for. By yon bonny banks and by yon bonny braes, where the sun shines bright on Loch Lomond, where me and my true love were ever
Thank you, Miss Keith.
together. On the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond.
Our poor friend is very low. He was a good man. His defects were on the surface, but he was generous of heart and kindly toward his fellow creatures. You may go in now.
Okay. A great honor, my dears. I shall enter the kingdom of heaven with a letter of introduction from a prince of the church. I fancy all doors will be open to me.
I'm afraid you'll find the company very mixed.
Don't you believe it. There'll be none of this confounded democracy there. I shall pick and choose my company as I always have. No. Please don't draw the curtains. I always love this time of afternoon. Why don't you have a drink, my dear fella? You always have a drink this time of day.
I have had it, thank you, Elliot.
Have you? Isabel, if you're going to make a scene, you will have to leave the room. I'm a rich man in my way, and I've left you everything I have.
Oh, Uncle Elliot.
Now, Gray, come here. I understand you have a job in prospect.
Yes, a roommate of mine in college has offered me a job in his business. My idea is to go back and see if I can raise enough money to start up my father's firm again. It's still in receiver's hands.
Splendid. You have the money now, my boy.
Letter for Mr. Templeton, sir. It's marked urgent.
Yes, you better stay. Elliot.
What is it?
For you.
Open it. What is it?
It's a card for Edna Novabali's party. Yeah, what did I tell you?
Get a pad and envelope. I'll reply.
Oh, no, please, don't bother about that now, Uncle.
Why not? I've always been a man of the world. There's no reason why I should forget my manners as I'm leaving it. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Elliot Templeton regrets. He cannot accept Princess Noe Malley's kind invitation, owing to a previous engagement with his blessed Lord. The old witch.
Pardon, madame, but Mr. Dale wishes to know if the chauffeur might drive him to the station.
Station? He's leaving?
Yes, madame. At 10:30 for Paris.
But he didn't say. Yes, of course.
Merci.
Leaving.
He's going to America.
Oh, really? How wonderful.
He's going to work his way back on a tramp steamer.
He would do that, but it doesn't matter. At least he'll be home. I'll see him.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
But you're not me. All my life, I've done the things other people have wanted me to do. From now on, I intend to do the things I want to do. I intend to see as much of Larry as I possibly can.
It may cause you a lot of pain, my dear.
I know, but it's a pain that's heavy.
Oh, Joseph, tell Marcel not to bother about the rolls. I'll drive you to the station, Larry. I'll get the roadster.
Fine, thank you.
You're on your way again.
Yes. Sorry I can't stay for the funeral. I have to catch a boat.
So you're going back to America at last.
That's right.
And what are you going to do?
I thought I might take a job in a factory or a garage. I've always liked machinery, and besides, when I'm washing a car or tinkering with a carburetor, my mind's free, and at the same time, I feel I'm accomplishing something.
And after that?
I don't know. I might buy a taxi.
A taxi?
Why not? It's a good life. You're always on the go. You meet a lot of different people.
Oh, Larry, for heaven's sake. What you need is a good psychiatrist. Sometimes I think you're completely out of your mind. Just look what you've done with your life. And with mine. What in heaven's name are you trying to prove? I'd hoped you'd come back to the States with us. Gray's going into business again, and he'll need all the help he can get. Larry, you've no idea what you've done for him. He spoke of it again only yesterday. You can't see the change, but I can. When you're around, he's different. Much like his old self.
Gray's all right. He doesn't need me.
But suppose he does. Suppose something goes wrong again and he has another breakdown. You can't imagine what he went through the last time. It wasn't just a matter of headaches or nerves. He was sick, really sick. Larry, I've never told this to anyone before, but for months and months we had to watch him every minute. It wasn't just losing his money and the business his father had built up. It was more than that. He blamed himself for all the things that happened to those little people who trusted him with their savings. I honestly believe that if it hadn't been for the children, he'd have killed himself.
Well, there's nothing so surprising about that, Isabel. I don't suppose there's a man or woman living today who hasn't felt that way at least once in their lives. The wonderful thing about life is that most of us get a second chance. I got a second chance. Right at the moment when I thought there was nothing in the world worthwhile living for. Do you know what it means to see another man give up his life for you? Do you? Have you ever thought what it is to walk the streets at night knowing that you're walking in another man's shoes? That someone deliberately died so that you might go on living? Listen. Do you remember that night in Chicago when we talked at the country club? I told you then that I didn't think I'd ever find myself. Well, I haven't yet. Completely. I found some of the things that I was looking for, and someday I may find them all, but in any event, I'm going to keep right on looking. It isn't easy and it isn't fun. I've known moments of futility and frustration. But that's all past now. Past and done. I know what lies ahead. I know where I'm going. And Gray, in his own way, can do the same thing because this is his second chance. And I know he'll come through.
All right, suppose he does. And what about me? Doesn't it mean anything to you that I love you? That I've never loved anybody else but you? That my children might have been your children? That... Oh, why didn't I marry you when I had the chance? I could have. You know I could have. That last night in Paris, you were ready enough to give up all this foolishness for me. If I just had brains enough, I could have saved you. But no, I threw you out. I thought I was being so noble, remember? Look at me, Larry. You know you love me. You know that you've always wanted me. Say it's true. Say you know it's true. Oh, Larry, I love you. I love you. Promise you'll come back with us. Promise you will.
Tell me about Sophie, Isabel.
Sophie? What about Sophie?
That afternoon she came to your apartment. Did she have anything to drink?
Yes.
Berzovka?
How did you know?
Isn't it strange that she should have asked for such an unfamiliar liqueur?
She didn't ask for anything. She just helped herself. I had to leave to pick up my daughter at the dentist's. And when I returned, Sophie was gone and the bottle was empty.
When you found Sophie gone and the bottle empty, weren't you surprised?
I thought she got tired of waiting. When I noticed the bottle was empty, I thought the butler had drunk it. I very nearly spoke to him about it.
You never were a very good liar, Isabel.
You don't believe me.
Not for a moment.
Then don't. All right, if you want the truth, you can have it. I did it, and I'd do it again. I was determined to stop at nothing to prevent her marrying you. Nobody else would do a thing. They didn't care. I did. Oh, Larry, you men are such fools. I knew that sooner or later she'd break down and stuck out a mile. You saw how jittery she was at the Ritz. I knew she'd give her soul for a drink. The idea came to me when Uncle Elliot made such a fuss about the stuff. I hated it, but I pretended it was wonderful. I knew if she had a chance, she'd never resist. That's why I offered to give her a wedding dress. I made up my mind that if I found Sophie had not touched the bottle, I'd make the best of things and try to be friends with her. That's true, I swear it. But when I came back and saw the bottle was empty, I knew I'd been right all along.
That's pretty much what I thought. Sophie's dead. Her body was found in the harbor at Toulon. She'd been murdered.
Oh, how horrible. Do they know who did it?
No. But I do. There's no need to be shocked about Sophie any longer, Isabel. I've had the feeling all day that Sophie is where she would want to be most. With Bob and Linda. Oh, I know it's a very usual and simple way to look at it, but it's comforting. Goodbye, Isabel. And take good care of Gray. He needs you now more than ever.
He's gone.
I know.
I've lost him. Lost him for good. And I love him. I love him so tenderly. Now I've lost him. Do you suppose we'll ever see him again?
It isn't likely. His America will be as remote from yours as the Gobi Desert.
It's all so crazy, so useless. What is he trying to do with his life? What does he hope to find?
My dear, Larry has found what we all want and very few of us ever get. I don't think anyone can fail to be better and nobler, kinder for knowing him. You see, my dear, goodness is, after all, the greatest force in the world. And he's got it.